Bowl season kicking off with a whimper. Boy, was that a yawner. Nothing, just nothing there. Tonight, out of the Broncos of Boise State, the Mountain West Conference champions in their final season in the Mountain West Conference. And what a ride it's been in the Mountain West Conference. But that was not the Boise State we have come to know and love tonight against Washington. Not much of a football game. I did not expect it to be much of a football game, and so at least I go 1-0 on my bowl predictions. Please catch those on Patreon or as a premium member here on YouTube. You'll get the rest of my predictions, and I cannot quite guarantee, for as much as I would like to and believe that I can, no, I can't. I have had losing bowl seasons before, but they are extremely rare. So we, of course, do not encourage you to wager on these football games. But, hey, if you already do it, you might as well get some cheap picks because they deliver. I don't know that you can find a better deal in college football anywhere than the price ratio to the winnings ratio here at the Voice of College Football. So for the rest of bowl season, that's what, about 40 games plus the playoff games, of course. You get my predictions. You get Matt Zemek, Steve Dace, and Corey Bradis predictions on Patreon again. And you can select those per bowl season for the rest of the month and throughout January. Or you can determine to select those per selection of games. The Amazon links in the description section of this video and all the videos. That's the most important thing I will say by far tonight. Unless somebody brings some weighty matter of spiritual concern up tonight, that will be by far the most important thing I will say tonight. The Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. And I guess I can't get on you guys for not using the Amazon link. I've got basically my best buddy. That guy is the salt of the earth. He is the salt of the earth in so many ways. One in particular is I catch this guy all the time getting on his extended family, like his nieces and nephews and his sons and their wives and so forth, about use the Amazon link. Use the Amazon link. Mark's got an Amazon link. I may talk about this for like 45 minutes and drive the entire audience off here. I may do that tonight. I just may. But he gets on the phone and it's funny to hear him because I'll hear him yell to his wife. If his wife's on the phone in the other room and he knows that it's with a family member or a close friend, he'll yell out, "Hey, remind them to use the Amazon link." So if I fail to say it, the Amazon links in the description section of this video and all the videos, all the live streams. And if you go to the various channels, then you can find it there as well. It's on every channel, folks. You can't miss it. Description section, it says Amazon in caps, and it's right there. You grab that link, and I know you're still shopping for Christmas season, so I'm somewhat adamant tonight. Grab that link, and you do your Christmas shopping, and it's just fascinating, the advancement of technology, because that link is exactly like your link. It will do the same exact thing. It keeps exactly the same information. It goes directly to your account. It keeps track of your history and your everything that you've got on your account. It's there in that link magically. I've got the same link that you do. My link has all of your information on it. Can you believe that? So use the Amazon link. It's in the description section of this video and all the videos and the live streams on this channel and all the channels. The Amazon link. Yes. They're worth something like $4 trillion, $7 trillion. I've lost count of the figure. It probably goes up by $1 trillion every couple of weeks. So my thoughts are that send us 3% or 5% or whatever it turns out to be, because it does not cost you a penny. Otherwise, I wouldn't push this so hard, because I would rather run a channel here and a network in which none of you spend a dime. That's how I'd like to run this channel and this network. It should be generated by sponsors and affiliate links and those sorts of things. And you guys shouldn't spend a penny. That's the way it should go. I was on a site called Social Blade the other day, and I was just curious because I like to watch Candace Owens from time to time and other folks. And I estimated based on my revenue here at the Voice of College Football, not the entire network, but I was looking at the main channel here, and I did some figuring, extrapolated it out based on Social Blade's estimations, which are very close. Not their revenue estimations are not even close, if you know anything about what I'm talking about on Social Blade. But their views totals seem to be dead on. And I extrapolated that out for Candace Owens, and she makes like $50,000 a day, not a month, like $50,000 a day. And that doesn't even, that's probably, she does probably even count that. All right, so we're going to look at this Michigan situation, both their in-house cleaning project that they've announced, and then we'll look at the head coaching situation. As I understand it right now, Kenny Dillingham, I believe, has taken himself off the market. I believe. As I mentioned, bowl season is underway, and that's why I'm here this early, because the game's not worth watching. I started taking notes, and I got, only so far, and I'm like, okay. I've lost interest here. It's 38-3, I believe, Washington leading right now over Boise State. The Celebration Bowl, from what I understand, was more entertaining, but I did not see one play of that game. I know there was a big comeback, somebody over somebody. Somebody came back on somebody else. And we get the Heisman Trophy. That should be the headliner, of course. Fernando Mendoza in a landslide victory is the first Indiana player to win the Heisman Trophy. And won it in resounding fashion. Diego Pavia was number 2, I believe. Jeremiah Love was number 3, and Julian Sayin 4. And Sayin only had like 8 first place votes. So I have no issue with that. I have in the past really covered the Heisman Trophy, gotten on here right when the ceremony was over. I actually had very highly populated live streams after the Heisman Trophy in the past, but and I've had issue with the Heisman Trophy. 2015, have an issue with that one. 2016, had an issue with that one. Those two in particular that I can think of off the top of my head. And I have a big issue with the 1956 Heisman Trophy winner. They screwed it up in 1956 as well. 1982, I don't believe, was a good selection. No, 1980. 1980. All right. I guess we will bypass the news of the day. I was going to go right to that, but since we've got a couple of callers on the line, we will do that. We've got David stopping by. David, what's going on?
Yes, I'm a little surprised you didn't mention 1984 when Keith Byers was robbed by Doug Flutie, which I think was, I think you could have made a case that Keith Byers should have won that year.
Oh, you can make a case.
Over Doug Flutie.
I make a case that Doug Flutie is part of the most overrated play in the history of college football. Either that or the Jadeveon Clowney play against Michigan in the Outback Bowl. One of those two plays. Those are the two most overrated plays I know of, because Jadeveon Clowney just basically ran. That's all he did. He ran straight, and he was the number 1 player in the draft. Obviously, he was a freak. It's impressive. He ran from point A to point B faster than I could, but like he just ran. Nobody blocked him. He just ran and hit a guy and knocked him down.
Yeah.
And it was a vicious hit, but we used to see those all the time. And then the Doug Flutie play, that was an exciting play. It's not that it wasn't exciting, but there are Hail Marys in college football all the time, and that wasn't a particularly like crazy one.
Right.
It was just on national TV on Friday night, and it wasn't a meaningful game. It didn't win a championship. It didn't impact a championship. Nothing.
Right. Well, yeah, that was a down Miami team in '84, by the way. Very
Yes,
kind of, after they're winning the
I
national
recall. 8
championship in
and 5,
8-3. Yeah.
8 and
Well,
5.
oh, 8-5. Okay,
They
eight and
lost to
five.
UCLA in the Fiesta Bowl, 39-37.
Didn't they fall prey to the greatest comeback that year by Frank Reich earlier in the year? When Reich,
42-40.
yeah, when Reich was the quarterback at Maryland, and of course he had the duplication of the feat in the playoff game against Houston when he was with the Bills.
I might be mistaken, but I believe that game was actually played a week later.
Really?
I might
Okay.
be wrong. I'm going to look
Okay.
that up while we're talking. I'm sure you've got plenty to give
Well,
to it.
I've got a few. So first of all, I want to shout out to the Navy for winning the game today, 17-16. Only saw a little bit of the first half. I guess I have 3 family members Army, 1 family member Navy, so I would have probably been rooting more for Army to win. None of them played football, in full disclosure, but we're in the service, so I did want to say that. Did you watch any of the game, Mark, or just?
I watched the entire game.
Oh wow, okay.
Watched the entire game, and I can't believe that I failed to mention that. But that was like 6 hours ago, so it's completely out of my memory at this point. But yeah, I watched the entire game, and yeah, it was entertaining. It was close. It was a typical Army Navy game. They typically are 1-score games, and came right down to the wire. No, it's not the greatest football you will ever see, but it's different. Of course, it's should not be ranked or rated, in my opinion, against any other rivalries.
It's true. I mean, obviously, these guys are going to go on to do much bigger and much more important things for our country. So we have to say that much, and that's for sure. I did want to mention the Heisman. You're right, Mark. Can I say this? It just seemed to be to. It just seems to me that the Heisman just used to be that much of a bigger deal, didn't it? It seemed to be that much of a bigger deal
It
than it
was to
is
me.
It was currently. Like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't there a time under Mark Rogers TV that we were doing clips and we were having
Oh,
leading candidates and
absolutely.
we had
I
Mark
did all
Rogers
sorts of
top
breakdowns.
5 and all
Yes.
those things. Come
Who
on.
should win the Heisman? Who are the top 5 candidates?
Right.
Oh, I used to do that stuff all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even, when people ask me now, I'm like, yeah, I have no idea.
Oh, Mark, come on, man. I mean, I agree. I think that it's maybe lost its luster to a certain extent. I take it you did not necessarily have an issue with Mendoza winning it
Nope.
this year, Mark.
No issue.
And I don't think it will be an overly he did not have an overly memorable statistical season. To be fair, a couple years ago when Daniels won it, he did have a really special year statistically. So I mean, there's those years that quarterbacks have like Burrow in 19 too, where it's just like an amazing type season. And something that will be remembered historically. I think that's also a component to this too. I think Mendoza, was the quarterback on the number 1 team in the country. He won the big games plural, beating Ohio State, going to Eugene, beating Oregon. I thought he had a solid game last week. I mean, the one thing I'll say in his evaluation against Ohio State, really good second half, really much better second half than first half.
So what's interesting about these sorts of things is that a lot of things that are not under the player's control impact the outcome. Meaning, I think if Fernando Mendoza, he seemed to start to get a strong push after the Penn State game.
Yeah.
So basically, he throws an interception. They don't play particularly well against a 6-6 football team, and his candidacy is propelled by that. If they would have gone in there and won 35-10, probably nobody would have noticed, thought anything about it. But he brought his team down the field in the final minute, which again, he made a couple great throws. His receivers made great catches, not just the last one, but the Charlie Becker one right before that. And so that propelled him. That was his moment. And then he puts up 13 points in the Big Ten championship game. Now, who knows how many of those ballots were already turned in before the Big Ten championship game, which drives me crazy. True. They shouldn't be. They should take their privileges away, in my opinion. Anything that's handed in before the season's over, you know, we can squabble about conference championship weekend and whether those are regular season games or postseason games. But anyway, certainly I know that ballots are turned in before the regular season's over, and that's beyond stupid. But if Ohio State cashes in on a fourth down play and they score a touchdown and win, he plays the same exact game.
Yeah.
And he loses. And I don't know that that would have completely toppled his Heisman Trophy run because he won by so much.
That's
But
true.
the look at his season would have been not completely different, would have been decidedly different, and his play on the field would have been exactly the same.
Right. That's an interesting point. It ended up being a really, did you think that much larger of a gap with the final numbers than you maybe expected, Mark?
Well, first of all, as mentioned, I don't follow it that closely,
Okay.
but from what I picked up, at one point in the season, I heard Mendoza saying back and forth.
Yeah.
That was the mid-season argument. And then Pavia gained momentum. And I did expect Mendoza 1, Pavia 2. I didn't give it much thought after that, but I guess saying 3 or Love, that didn't, none of the order surprised me at all. But the spacing of the votes in the landslide surprised me.
Right. Okay. On to, I didn't get a chance to delve into this as much as I wanted to the other night. We were short on period of time, but to the coaching opening of your largest fan base here at Mark Rogers TV. First of all, I have to ask.
They're all on the Michigan channel. That's where they are. They're over on the Michigan channel, which is great because we've got our buddy John Diadamo in the chat tonight. He and TJ do a phenomenal job, and they're the ones that just own the Michigan football narrative.
Well, I'll say this. They've been fair to me when I ventured over there. So I will say there, I've gone there a few times. And but all right, first of all, how much are you putting into the fact of this situation by everybody's measures has been under investigation since back in the fall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you of the view or of the belief that, or it could at least be a possibility, that they were waiting for the final of the Ohio State game to decide his fate? That had that game had gone differently, obviously they would have defeated the number one team in the country. They would have gone 10-2, and they very easily would have made the playoff. And I didn't get to test drive this theory with you the other night because we were short on time. So that's why I'm putting it out there this evening. Is there a shot that he would have retained his job? This would have been maybe swept under the rug until the season was over. Your thoughts on that? What do you know? What can you add?
So I don't know anything more than anyone else does.
Okay.
I know that our Michigan guys have done a nice job and have been aware of the situation for a couple months. Yeah, at least a month, maybe more. Mm-hmm. And I know that our guy Steve Dace has been aware of it.
Yes.
But obviously they take great caution in reporting these things if it's not confirmed, because we would be liable. So anyway,
yes.
Going back to your questions there.
Yes.
So none of that would surprise me that the football on the field would affect their decision. However, that would be very short-sighted on their part. Let's say they did beat Ohio State. They did have the same exact information and they withheld it. I'm not saying that none of us know whether that would have been the case, but that would not be a wise thing to do. But yes, it was easier for them to fire Sharon Moore after a 9-3 season than after a 12-0 or 11-1 season. Sure. That would be the case for any school. they might be looking for ways to figure their way. Now, once it became a criminal matter, then that's where the line's drawn. I don't care if the guy won 10 straight national championships. I don't know how a school evades that because it is a criminal matter of sorts now. But if he would have held and maybe, well, I don't know. I was going to go into some things that I don't know, just pure speculation. That if we're just keeping it to the transgression and the breaking of policy at the university and the firing, and no more criminal actions by him, just breaking rules, then then it's a different matter. But there's no way that they could have kept him as head coach under these conditions, the way it entirely played through. That they wouldn't even have that well, depending on the outcome of his legal situation, they may not even have the opportunity or the authority to do that.
Okay.
Did that answer your question? I don't know what they did. Anything's possible that they weighed the football versus the information that they had to say, we're going to hang on to this until we see the outcome of this game. But I just think that that's foolish if that's what they did, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's what they did.
Okay. All right. So you don't know, obviously, a lot of the details enough to, okay, fair enough. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. We do not know that he wasn't officially terminated until this became a legal matter, or he was terminated before this became a legal matter.
Okay, so that's the crux of your scenario right there.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know exactly when he was fired versus when they determined, whether it was simply. I don't know whether he was caught.
Yeah.
They fired him, and then he went nuts and had the incident with the girlfriend and the incident with the wife, or it became a criminal matter after he had these two incidents, and then they fired him.
See, I had heard that he was trying to break into the place.
Yes.
Right. I think it was the DoorDash guy. Blame it on the DoorDash guy that caught him. That, hey, this guy's trying to break into, somebody's place here, and then the authorities were called, and then he was.
But you don't know where that.
Yeah, I don't know if that happened.
Of the firing.
Exactly. I didn't know if that happened before a termination or after termination.
Well, considering that,
maybe John D posted something in the chat there. I don't know. John
probably has. They have a pretty good handle on that between he and TJ.
Okay.
I will say this, that we found out that Tyrone Moore had been fired with cause. That was what day? That was 2 days ago. Was that Wednesday? Yeah, that was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Had to be Wednesday because I was gone all day Thursday. It was Wednesday at whatever time, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I thought it was during the day. Yeah.
We knew by that night that there was an incident, the two incidents we're talking about. So I would think that he was fired before. It only makes sense based on the chronology that I'm putting together.
Okay. Other thought here. I'm going to get to coaches here in a second because I thought Mr. Dace had a kind of an interesting list. Did you hear his list, by the way, Mark?
I did not.
Okay, I did. I'm going to kind of go over it. But interesting enough, his leading candidate too. I actually had said that it's interesting. A lot of their fan base, and it's going to be interesting to see as more details come out on this thing. I have not heard if the employee has been fired yet that he was having the affair with. if she's been terminated from her job or if she's still in her job.
The last I heard, if the scuttlebutt on social media is correct, I wasn't hearing this from any official news source, was that she still had her job.
Okay. Okay.
But
One would
again,
think
I don't know.
one would think she might have violated some things with her contract. I don't know, but
Yeah, so I'm the guy that if we know what's going on and we know the matter and we can say, okay, well, this has been confirmed. I have all sorts of opinions about what should be done and
mhm.
who's at fault and all that sort of thing. But to come to me for fact finding, I my only concern is for the wife and the two children, and beyond that,
Sure.
I really don't care. Like
Right.
I don't care to spend like 12 seconds of my life reading about Sharon Moore's case. I don't care.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, fair
I just
fair enough.
don't. I,
No,
I
no.
know that in this position on this channel that I should, and I have in the past been more responsible in that manner. But considering the condition of the channel and where I have to spend my time,
Hey, Mark.
yeah, I'm not wasting my time reading about Sharon Moore.
We're talking about the former coach of the largest fan base here at Mark Rogers TV, voice of college football. I
And I
didn't know.
probably wouldn't even do the same if it was Urban Meyer. I'd be like,
Okay.
yeah, okay,
Okay.
let me know when there's
Yeah.
things substantiated, but I'm not going to go hunting
I
on the internet. I'd rather watch, read, listen to all sorts of other things way before reading about some stupid football coach that has no discipline and is a moron.
Last thing, real quick, before I get to the coach list, I will say, it will be interesting as the facts continue to come out. From what I've heard, Ward Manuel has gotten some kind of a vote of confidence up there as far as keeping his job. I don't know how on earth that is possible, Mark, especially after the Stallion situation, this situation. First of all, there's a lot of people that on their side, and I spoke to them during the whole Stallion situation, that weren't really happy with good old Ward, that he didn't necessarily back Jimmy Moore during the Stallion situation. So, I find it very interesting to see if more details come out on this thing, if there was indeed any other quote unquote cover up here, whether he's going to be long for that job.
Yeah. So whether you're on the side of, as a Michigan fan, let's say, you're on the side of, we cheated, that was horrendous, that's an embarrassment, and you go down that path, which seem to be very few Michigan fans, but there are Michigan fans that believe and take accountability for the cheating and all of that. Whether you go down that path, then there are certain reasons why you would want Ward Manuel, because he was ultimately responsible for all of that, fired. But if you go down the path of, we did nothing wrong, there's also an argument there that I've heard explained that he didn't do the football program justice by being strong enough in his defense for their innocence, or at least the the um the vague, and I'm using other people's words and their argument, the vague
Yeah.
wording of the rules, and that it was that they should have, it should have been fought more vehemently against, and they should have taken a stronger stand against. So I don't know that he's in a good place with either side of the Michigan fan base, who on that issue in particular.
Right. Right. That's why I wonder as facts come out, details come out here, Mark. Going to be really interesting to see how this vote of confidence, or again, if he's long for the job here. So something to maybe keep in mind as details and things come out.
Yeah, beyond all this football business, of course, they've been highly successful on the field, or they were for 3 years. They
Right.
were highly successful on the football field for 3 years.
Right. Built
Uh,
on the
and
backs of cheating, Mark. But
and
okay.
and then we've got other sports that I don't care about, and I don't know. I have no idea how good their basketball team is, anything like that. Um, but uh, I lost track of where I'm at. Basically, I would think that they would want to dismiss themselves of anything involving anyone who has to do with any of this. I would burn it to the ground, figuratively,
Okay.
and just say, so for example, when Sharon Moore got fired, I fire up a live stream immediately. I'm ripping off coaching candidates.
Yeah.
I went the path of look at these successful Michigan related guys that are now with Harbaugh and elsewhere in the NFL. Bring back one of those guys, McDonald, mentor one of those guys. Well, I quickly processed it and thought, no, 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 no. I would detach myself from anybody with the Harbaugh regime, any of that. There are plenty of good football coaches out there. We see a list of them. We see at the top of the board, Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham as of the last 24 hours. They can do better. And they just detach
Okay.
yourself and start with Ward Manuel. Get rid of him. There's plenty of good athletic directors that they could get to hire. So whether you judge and evaluate him as doing a fine job otherwise or not, they need to put this entire 5-year span of time in their past, put it in the record books, get rid of it, detach yourselves from it, burn it to the ground, and see
Mark,
if you can reclaim some reputation.
Wow. Reclaim reputation. Where do they go to get their reputation back? You know, interesting. Over that period of time, that's the last time they accomplished something significant since the 1990s, by the way, Mark. But I digress. Was over this 5-year period of time. To the coaches, Dace put out a list. It's interesting to see. Yeah, obviously you won't be stopping by the mental institution this season to kind of bat around some of these names with them. I would find it interesting if you would. The top of the list, I'm sure you've heard, was DeBoer. He also mentioned Joe Brady as part of the list, which I thought was an interesting name. Joe Brady seems to be a name that's coveted now. Obviously, Josh Allen, he's done some good things with him, having real success with him, although I think a lot of people could have success with Josh Allen as their quarterback. And, you know, obviously DeBoer, it could be a coveted guy, but he's got to coach a playoff game. And one would say he's got a pretty good job right now. He also mentioned Jed Fish, too, as part of his list. I don't know, Mark. Do you have some thoughts? Would you throw out another name other than those people? I didn't get a chance to hear your names. Okay.
See my list?
Yeah,
I've been working on
Drinkowitz.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to produce a video. I've got some of these, they're not all reasonable, but I'm just running the gamut here. These were my notes to produce a video. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Brian Kelly, Eli Drinkwitz, Dan Lanning, Jeff Monken, Jed Fish, Kenny Dillingham. This is before those names surfaced. Dabo Sweeney, Brent Key, Jeff Brom, PJ Fleck, Mike Elko, Rhett Lashley. There's a wild card for you. Kalen DeBoer, Lance Leipold, Ryan Walters, Barry Odom. Those are more staff selections there. Anyway, Barry Odom, Jess Minter, Mike McDonald, Wink Martindale, Joe Brady. You mentioned him, John Harbaugh.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, there's a lot of people that think John Harbaugh might not have a job at the end of this season in Baltimore, which I always thought was crazy to think. But, you know, is interesting rumors as I follow the NFL game. A little bit more, probably a lot more closer than you do nowadays. That being said, DeBoer still seems like a bit of a long shot. I actually think Brady would be a very good choice. You know, obviously, I think, you know, what they're thinking, what Dace's thinking is, and he said this after the loss to Ohio State, is the future development of Bryce Underwood at quarterback whisperer, you know, offensive minded guy, play caller, schemer, that type. I would think that, you know, he would be a fit as far as that goes. Certainly. Now, he has no track record of building a program. And exactly, I knew you were going to go there. I was going to go there. I was going to get there.
I wouldn't hire him.
A couple more words. Okay. So go ahead.
I don't know an example. I'm trying to think of an example of a coordinator who has been hired to be a head coach in major college football for his first job, and that's been successful, other than two
Yep.
guys that were raised in that program, Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day. Other
Right.
than that, I can't think. Okay, Marcus Freeman, there's one.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Marcus Freeman.
Yep.
I don't think that there are too many examples of coordinators who have been elevated to the start. And again, no. Marcus Freeman was in the program.
Sure.
So to bring in a coordinator who's only been a coordinator and never been in the program. So smite Marcus Freeman from my list. I was going to try to build a list of coordinators who have been hired outside the program and been successful as a head coach.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Help me. I don't know who that is.
Right. I mean, there's always, see, you would think like a first step for this coach is, and this is what I thought with Moore, is the first logical step for coordinator is usually like lower level. You cut your teeth at maybe a MAC level or a, one of those type schools, maybe even the FCS, something along those lines. And you build up your credentials there before you step up to the big boy level. Isn't that usually the trajectory, usually the path, Mark?
There we go. Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart. Those are two obvious ones.
That's not going to happen. Either one, no.
No, I'm not talking about those two. Those are an example of guys that came as coordinators to other programs. There you go. Okay. So there's two.
That's true.
At very high level. So maybe I shouldn't say that I definitely wouldn't do it, but I don't know. I would tend to not want to go that route myself.
Smart was being groomed for like a long period of time at Alabama, though, too. Lanning, though, was a fairly quick rise. Though. Very quick rise, I will say. I'll tell you the one name that I'll throw out there, and I do not want to throw these people a bone right now, nor should I. But the name, Tony Gerdeman put it out there. I'm going to say it again. I know that everybody says he's never going to leave his alma mater, but I think that there's a lot better jobs than his alma mater, and he already coached in the Big Ten, and that's Jeff Brom, and had some success in the Big Ten, and he's an offensive-minded coach. I mean, there are a lot better jobs than Louisville. Now, maybe he's just, I'm all about the alma mater here, and I'm going to do some great things at Louisville, but there's a lot better jobs than Louisville out there. So, I don't know. Maybe they're treating him well in the bluegrass to where he'll never want to leave, but
he was on my list.
Okay. Yeah,
he was on my list.
Okay.
He apparently turned down Penn State. Now, do you really think Michigan's a better job than Penn State right now?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It may only be a better job because I think they have a ton more money. I think they do.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot more resources.
Yeah, well, Larry Ellison's wife or whatever, girlfriend.
Yeah.
Writing the checks.
And if you want to go to all-time history, but obviously that to me doesn't matter in terms of hiring a coach right now. Otherwise, Penn State, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't know that about Brom. He turned down the Penn State job. I did not hear that.
I believe so.
Interesting. But he must just have all kinds of love for the alma mater and doesn't want to elevate above Louisville, I guess. Maybe that's a thing. Okay. So, I mean, interesting. They missed it maybe by a few weeks on the Campbell situation too, Mark.
I'm reading here. Jeff Brom was the top candidate for the Penn State head coaching job after James Franklin left, with reports suggesting Penn State made a serious offer, but Brom ultimately declined the overtures to stay at his alma mater.
Okay. Staying at the alma mater is maybe he's going to end up doing great things at Louisville.
Good for him.
No, I will see. But usually you think people, that Kiffin trajectory. Well, I'm at Ole Miss. I want to take a step up to it. No, not everybody's built like that. Right. There's not a whole lot of Lane Kiffins out there. I get it. But, who knows? I know. Maybe I shouldn't say so much about the smaller school, the schools that aren't on the top level that can win national championships.
I like what Dusty Dvorak said tonight, even though I don't completely agree with it. And I remember, and I recognize why Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU. I get it.
Right.
But I just like that he says Lane Kiffin says he's all about winning national championships, so he left a team that's playing for a national
championship. Right. Yeah.
So there's going to be more than one person outside of even the Ole Miss fan base that is going to be rooting for Lane Kiffin to fail, just to show him that that's not necessarily the right thing to do. I'm okay with him leaving Ole Miss because that's the only thing you can do to elevate to go to another job these days because of the calendar of college football being what it is. But maybe he didn't conduct himself at the best. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, the calendar is a crazy thing, almost as crazy as me trying to help out the team up north with football coach picks. But
done.
I digress by trying to assist.
Jace and I must be thinking along the same lines. I came up with this list completely absent of anything else except for the other night. I just kind of asked the chat, so the chat did come up with a few of those names, I do believe.
By the way, have you seen the halftime guy John Fanta on NBC?
I know that name, John Fanta.
Take a look.
Sure.
Steve Dace's doppelganger, separated at birth.
What? Well, he's obviously not he's not a studio host, is he?
No, he does like the halftime, like the highlights or something at the halftime of the NBC.
Well, he's a studio host.
Yeah, he's in the studio guy.
Oh, John Fanta.
Yeah, local guy, Ohio guy, by the way, Mark. So our neck of the woods.
I'm looking at him right now, and I do not believe that my friend Steve Dace would be
telling you, like a younger brother right there.
That comparison.
Well, I'm just saying. I think
Steve's in better shape than I am now. He's svelte.
Really? Okay.
Yes,
well, good
he is.
Good for Dace. All right. Well, next week we get the college football playoffs, and we get to talk about some real football, right, my friend?
We do, or we can talk about Boise State and Washington, I guess. But yes, we will have playoff games next weekend. Yes, thankfully.
I will pass on the 38-3 Los Angeles Bowl and get back together with you sometime this week to talk some playoff football, my friend.
Thank you, David.
Take care.
Yes, I can't believe David reminded me that there was an Army-Navy game today, and for the first time in years, I sat down and watched it. I did not sit down at 3:00 and watch it. I sat down about 4:30 and I caught up. But I watched every play, or every play was on my TV. There were some trips to the kitchen. There was some, messing around on the internet. Can't say that I was locked in on it, dissecting it. But there we go. All right, the real MVP stopping by. The real, what's going on?
Nothing much, Mark. My bowl picks are doing well. 2-0 right now.
2-0. Okay.
I'm not sure if you watched any of the South Carolina State Prairie View A&M game.
No.
It was actually a really good football game.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, Prairie View A&M got to a 20-point lead. South Carolina State came all the way back, forced overtime, went to 4 overtimes. There was a controversial call at the end of the game. They gave South Carolina State the 2-point conversion when it seemed like he didn't get it, and that was the difference. Have you seen the 2-point conversion that I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Well, I wanted your thoughts on it, but it was very close. Like, if he clipped the pylon with the ball, he just barely clipped it to get the 2-point conversion. Now, does the football extend infinite, or the goal line extend infinitely like in the NFL? Or is it just from pylon to pylon?
So, meaning the pylon is directly in front of me, and I'm going to the right pylon, so everything left of it is the end zone, and everything right of it is out of bounds. If I dive and I am airborne past the pylon to the right side, out of bounds, but I'm still airborne, and then I could land in the first row, it would be a touchdown if, in fact, the plane, as in the NFL, is, it runs across the equator. It's that.
Right. As long as you, I think, extend the ball over the part of the pylon, it counts as a touchdown or 2-point conversion.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if that's the way it works.
Inbound.
Right. Because they were talking about it during the broadcast, how it's just pylon to pylon.
Hmm.
I've never heard of that before, so I didn't know if, and it's really never came up where it's been that close before.
That's a great question. I'm even trying to think of a play or a contortion of the body in the football that would draw that into play, the two distinctions that you're outlining.
Well, basically what happened was he was diving, he got hit as he was going out of bounds, and he had the ball extended. I mean, it probably just barely touched the bottom right quadrant of the pylon, was just barely over it. Now, if it is from the inside of the pylon to the inside of the pylon, it would be no good because it's outside of the pylon. It's at the bottom right corner. But if it's infinitely, then it would be good because it barely was above the pylon.
So if somebody's, let's say they're being hit, they're going out of bounds at like the half-yard line, they are not officially down, and the play is not over until a part of them touches down
Right.
on the ground, although the ball is marked where it crosses out of bounds. So if they could somehow, within flight, their body's out of bounds and the ball is even airborne out of bounds, reach around inside the pylon, that's kind of odd when you think about it, because the ruling and the way the rules are applied kind of are contradictory there, because when somebody runs out of bounds, the ball is marked where the official believes that player, where that ball crossed from the playing field into the white. But if a player is airborne out of bounds and reaches around inside the pylon, it's a touchdown.
Right.
That's inconsistent.
It is. And a lot of people are saying outside the pylon is out of bounds. If that's the case, then I think South Carolina State got gifted the win, because it was clearly outside the pylon. It was just the only controversy, did it hit the bottom right part of the pylon or not, or the ball was over it. It didn't hit the pylon at all. It was over the bottom right part of the pylon, and then he got out of bounds. That's how close we're talking about. And they didn't have a great angle because this is a pretty low tier bowl game. So they didn't have a down the line shot. They had to do like an overhead shot, and it is super zoom in.
But you're saying that it was ruled that the ball touched the pylon.
No, it was above the pylon.
Oh, it was above the pylon.
Right.
It was above the pylon and in the end zone, like over the pylon. Like even if a fraction of the ball was out touching the pylon, not physically touching, but above the pylon, but the rest of the ball was out of bounds.
Right. Right. It was the right side, Michael Hull. It touched the furthest away side.
Yeah.
I've never seen it come up where it had to be this close before, and I honestly didn't know the rule, and it's such a specific thing to where I don't even know. It wouldn't shock me if the NCAA hasn't clarified it, because they're the NCAA, and they don't do anything right.
And so your clarification is, in the NFL, the ball can be anywhere. Again, if college football is end zone to end zone, it's to the utter outmost of each pylon, and they ruled that the football, a tiny portion of it was exactly, and while we're drawing lines across the earth, that the horizontal lines, or I'm sorry, the vertical lines go straight up from the pylon.
Right.
And the football was, even if it was just a tiny bit, was above the pylon.
Right.
Instead of where in the NFL it wouldn't have mattered. It's a touchdown.
Right.
Yeah. Got it now.
Yeah, so that was super close play in the South Carolina State Prairie View A&M game. Anybody that had Prairie View at A&M at 1 plus 1.5, I feel sorry for you. You want to talk about a historically bad beat? You're up 21-0. You give up the entire game, and that call could have been the difference between you winning or losing. I mean, That's tough, Mark.
That makes me
That's,
want to go back and watch the Michael Penix play for Indiana against Penn State.
Yeah,
'Cause I
but
don't
the ball touched the pylon on that
Yeah,
play.
I know, but did the ball touch the ground before it touched the pylon? That was the determination there.
Right.
Because it was fourth down and it was a 2-point conversion. And obviously, if the ball would have been down on because then he landed short, he's way short. His body's way short of the goal line. It was a determination of whether the ball touched the pylon for a touchdown or whether it just merely landed on the ground and didn't touch the pylon until he touched the ground.
Right.
Yeah,
So
his knees or hip.
that was a super close play as well. I mean, honestly, every college football game should have down the line for both end zones. I don't understand why that isn't just a standardized thing throughout every game that's played.
There was a Julian Sayin touchdown in the Michigan game that was called back, and rightfully so. It should have been where there was just a mass of humanity, and they called him in the end zone. It wasn't really even that close, and they didn't have, for that game, a camera right down the line.
Right. I mean, it's crazy that in the sport, we don't, the most important part of the field, we don't have cameras to determine it. It feels like if there's any place to put a camera, having one on the pylons to make sure you're right down the line is easily the most important place to be. I wanted to also ask you about the Boise State Washington game. I know it was a complete blowout and it was a complete garbage game. To me, this is another just data point that the group of five doesn't belong in the college football playoff. Think about this. If James Madison would have lost to Troy, which they almost did, they were up by like 3 points or 4 points late in the fourth quarter, Boise State would have probably been in the playoffs. Unless you're taking an 8-5 Duke team, that it would have been between Duke, Kennesaw State, Boise State, and some other conference that doesn't really matter. So this is just another data point that these teams don't belong in the college football playoff, that they're a complete joke, and they are just wasting space for legitimate teams like Vanderbilt, Texas, Notre Dame, BYU in the college football playoff.
Yes, the group of five now falls to 12-85 against the power conferences this year. And it was not much of a football game. And Washington is not a great football team.
Yeah, Washington is just your borderline top 25 team. They might be in it 1 week, they'll fall out of it the next week. I know there's a lot of people rooting for the group of five because they're the little guy and people like seeing Cinderella stories, but this isn't college basketball. This isn't any other sport out there where upsets happen all the time. College football is completely different. I'm tired of seeing that narrative being pushed everywhere to where they might have a shot. No, James Madison has no shot. I mean, I'm not going to say absolutely no shot because, a freak incident could occur where they actually somehow pull it off and win the game, but they have no shot.
Well, it doesn't apply for two reasons. Number one, for the reason that you give, the two sports are just much different, and there's a significant, a quantity of players that are needed in football versus if you have two players in basketball and they happen to have their best game ever and they shoot the lights out and handle the ball, and then the other team's a little bit off and the game goes by so quickly. Just watch an NCAA tournament game. Obviously any college basketball game applies, but it hits me during the NCAA tournament, especially in the first day where, that 20 minutes is gone and it's already halftime. And if you might have an upset brewing, it's 32-28 and the game's over before you blink. Football is such a long grind. And then also, the allowance of that for a 68 team field is different than the precious number of spots for the football tournament.
Absolutely. It seems like we're going to expand to 16 next year just because everybody's upset about how it worked out this year.
Yes.
Which ironically is going to create it to where 17, 18, 19's upset because as you expand it more and more, teams are going to be like, well, we have as equal as a resume as them. And people just need to understand that it's okay. Not everyone gets invited to the college football playoff. You have to win.
Yeah.
I thought the main reason for the 12-team playoff was you can control your own destiny. Well, you didn't win enough games to get in. So you put yourselves in this position. So don't be crying that the ACC is digging at you when Miami is in the ACC and Notre Dame isn't.
Yes, we can expand the playoff to any number, and there are always going to be teams with legitimate arguments of being left out, legitimate based on the number of spots available. But to your point, the larger we expand the playoff, the less valid are these arguments because the opportunity is so great.
Right. Like the people who want to push it to 24, like the Big 10 and some Big 12 and ACC people on social media. I mean, they want 8-4 Iowa to be in it. Well, why isn't TCU or SMU or Louisville or these other 8-4 teams in the college football playoff? They just have equally as good as resume as Iowa, for goodness sake.
It's actually going to get worse because the middle portion of the standings is larger. Obviously, there's a highest tip of 12-0 and 11-1 teams, and then it broadens out from there. And the tip at the bottom small. There's only so many 1-11 and 2-10 teams, and the majority of the country is going 6-6, 7-5, 5-7, 8-4, 4-8. And so you're going to have more ties and more arguments among those teams.
Right. Shout out to UMass. Was literally not even at the bottom of possibilities for Mark Rogers' universe. That went 0-12. How bad they were this year. They didn't even make the bottom of possibility.
No. Yes. I got to start doing a bottom 10 again. Those are always fun to put together.
I know. I want the Heisman vote. I have no problem with it between Mendoza and Diego Pavia, but I do have a problem with the gap being so large between the two. I think we're going to look back in this in a few years and say this was a complete blowout. And I do think there was a legitimate argument for Diego to win it. I also feel bad because one of these two teams that had never had a chance to win a Heisman got absolutely screwed. Like if it was USC, Notre Dame, somebody else like that, I wouldn't feel as bad because they always win the Heisman. Whereas it's Vanderbilt, and the odds of them getting a player as good as Diego again is basically zero.
So I understand that you're looking at the vote total and thinking, how are there that many people out there that cast their vote in one direction? But obviously the outcome would be the same, even if it was a 1 vote difference, that Mendoza would be the Heisman Trophy winner.
Right. I just think this race was much closer. I mean, this was the largest gap since the 2019 LSU Joe Burrow year.
Yeah.
That doesn't
why does it matter?
No, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but that just doesn't feel right. You know?
I get your point.
Like, why does it matter that Julian Sayin only got 8 first-place votes, but the Texas Tech defender got twice as many first-place votes as him? You know, it doesn't matter, but that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I would have to see this Texas Tech linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez, who used to be at Oklahoma State. You know, I know the guy well in terms of his play on the field because I've known who he was for his entire career, basically. But I just guess I didn't realize what he had done that was just that jaw-dropping this year besides recover a bunch of fumbles. Like, I know he's a really good player. I'm not discounting or trying to diss him in any way, but I haven't really seen any. I watched Texas Tech play a couple times. I didn't see him make any otherworldly plays that would put him in a Heisman race. I didn't get that.
Right. He got 17 first-place votes. Yeah. Julian Sayin only got 8.
Now, if he had like 20 sacks or something, but I've looked at his numbers. They're not anything spectacular. Or if he would have, batted a ball in the air and intercepted it, or had a play like Roy Williams did 20 years ago against Chris Sims in Texas, where he leaped over the line and sacked him to win the game, that sort of thing. Or David Pollock did against, I think, against Florida, and won the Big 12 championship or something. I get it, but yeah, I'm not understanding his elevation in the Heisman and all the Heisman pub for him.
Yeah, how many people? I don't know who voted for who. I don't think that's been released yet. But there was a lot of Big 12 people that were pushing for him to be the Heisman winner, just in the middle, because, it's the Big 12 and they got nobody who's really good. So how many of them do you think are Big 12 writers and stuff that are just like pushing for this guy?
I have a serious problem with that. You're bypassing logic. And again, he's a really good player. Okay, he had 117 tackles this year. That's a lot of tackles, but it's not like a record. There are other I can almost guarantee he was not number one in the country in tackles. And he had 11 tackles for loss and 1 sack and 4 interceptions. Okay. He didn't score. Oh, he had 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. I actually saw that. They were playing Kansas State, and it didn't matter. It was a garbage touchdown with like 50 seconds left on a scoop and score, and they were winning by 3 touchdowns. I don't get it. He's like an all-American linebacker. Okay.
I absolutely agree with you. I think a lot of this is just from speculation, pure speculation. It's people in a certain conference wanting to push their guy because they're trying to elevate their conference to a certain level.
Yes. We are being slighted. So we're gonna take somebody who you can't compare head to head like a quarterback, or we don't have anyone. Which, when you look at BYU and Texas Tech, and Baron Morton's a good player, but they didn't have a Shadur Sanders or a Travis Hunter, obviously, to throw out there to put up against Mendoza and Pavia and Sayan that could win in apples to apples comparison. So they went the oddball route of, here's a defender where you can't compare the statistics or the contribution, and he's been around. He's got a bit of a story. He's got a bit of a look. And we'll push him as the best player in college football. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a interesting conundrum, to say the least, for them. He was not the tackles leader. Owen Long was the tackles leader for Colorado State with 151 total tackles.
Wow.
Which is a lot of tackles, Mark.
Are you looking at the list?
Yes.
Okay. He had 117, so he would have ranked what in the top 10?
14th.
14th in tackles. Okay. Yeah, I don't get it. He had 1 sack. I don't. 11 tackles for loss. That's a really nice number, but there are players, we could name some of the great defenders of the last 10 or 15 years in college football that are disruptors, like in the backfield, starting with like Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, he was the best player in college football that year.
Yeah, and their numbers are like 22 tackles for loss and 17 sacks. That kind of year. Derek Thomas, Joey Bosa, those kind of seasons.
Yeah, there were some Chase Young's seasons for Ohio State where he was pretty good as well.
Exactly.
I wanted to ask you about the college football playoff games coming up. Is there any, I feel like this week of college football for the playoff games, it's going to be low scoring, not a lot of action or excitement, and 2 blowouts. Is that kind of the vibe you're getting for these games coming up?
I did some homework tonight comparing Alabama and Oklahoma. Obviously, they played a game, but I think you can learn something because they have so many common opponents. They have 5 common opponents. So you can say, okay, well, that happened on that day between those 2 teams. And that's the most valid look at those 2 teams, obviously. But if one of them had a bad day, and obviously it was played at Alabama, but Alabama had a bad day in terms of turnovers. Now, obviously, Oklahoma had something to do with it. Then you can look at these, and neither one of these teams can run the football. My goodness. Unless Mateer, he's the wild card to give Oklahoma some semblance of a running game. What gets lost in all of this Alabama criticism is that their defense is really good. They do have a really good defense. Not vintage, but it's really good. But these teams are not going to be able to throw the ball, or run the ball. So if Ty Simpson can get back to his midseason form and his offensive line protects him well, versus can Mateer get loose and provide a running game, then I think those are the two biggest factors in those teams needing to move the ball to score points.
Right. I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty field position game, and hidden yardage is going to be a major factor. Penalties is going to be huge in this game.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I was looking at. I added, I've done these common opponents breakdowns. I added the hidden yardage to this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I expect this game to be like 14-10, 17-12 type game.
Yeah.
I do think Alabama's just the better football team. I think they were better when they played in Oklahoma. I think I understand Oklahoma getting turnovers is pretty their part as well, but them returning it for a touchdown there's a bit of randomness to that, where you have to have your defenders lined up in a certain way to block the offensive players to score. Most time there's a reason that doesn't happen more often than it does.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of luck involved in actually returning it as compared to getting the turnover.
Yeah, there's a component of luck in recovering the ball, because obviously it's a football. It can go. It's like the I don't know if you saw the Army-Navy game. The Navy quarterback got a first down to ice the game, and he fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
He was twisting and he fumbled the ball. The defender put a good hit on him, knocked it loose, and it popped up in the air and it just landed right in his lap. So there's a randomness to recovering the ball, because it can bounce all over the place. Now, you teach your team as a football team, if we're super aggressive and you run to the football, yes, you're going to increase your odds of recovering fumbles, but there's a randomness to that. And then to your point, there's a randomness to, did we get the angle on the interception? Like, was it an out where once the corner breaks on the ball, boom, he's gone. Nobody's going to catch him. Or, that sort of deal. Or like in the case of a scoop and score, it bounces up and your defenders or your teammates are in the right place and all of that. Yeah, there's a huge bit of randomness to turning that into points.
Right. Final question I'll ask you, Mark. What percentage of college football fans would be upset about any playoff structure if Alabama beats Indiana?
Meaning, if Alabama wins this game against Indiana, people are going to be complaining about the selection or the format?
They'll just be complaining about Alabama didn't deserve to get in. Oh, this playoff we thought was going to expand. It's actually giving bigger teams a chance to redeem themselves. This isn't what we wanted. This is terrible for the sport. All of that stuff. Because Alabama, once again, -7 against it, or +7 against Indiana. Think about the way Indiana's played all year. Think about the way Alabama's played the last month. I'm telling you, -7, Mark, it's an indication that Alabama can actually do this thing.
Oh, of course they can.
I don't, but most people don't believe. Don't think it's possible.
Yeah, well, the comments that people make to me are amazing in terms of what I just kind of questioned. Did you pay attention to even just what happened the week before? In terms of what they think is possible and not possible. There are two teams in this field that have no chance of winning the national championship. And there are Texas A&M and Miami. I know that you believe that Miami cannot beat Ohio State, that it's highly, highly unlikely. I think it's more likely than you do. Texas
I just don't
A&M
see
does
them
not
being.
impress me.
I don't see them beating Ohio State, then Georgia, then Indiana, Oregon, Alabama. I don't see that string happening for either of those teams. Like you put any team where Miami, Texas A&M is. I just don't see that happening. Like you could put last year's Ohio State team in that place. I still would pick against them just because of the run of games they got to go.
So if Ohio State had to play Texas A&M, then they can't play themselves. They
Right.
play.
I'm talking about you put last year's Ohio State
Yeah.
team, put them against this year's Ohio State team, then this year's Georgia team, then this year's Oregon, Indiana. I would still pick against that 2024 Ohio State just because the gauntlet of that is so difficult for any team to do.
Sure. I get your point. Yeah, the odds are against them significantly, and Miami's not, until proven otherwise, nowhere close to Ohio State. I would put Texas A&M at the back of the line outside of the two obvious that don't belong. Texas A&M would surprise me the most in winning a national championship, and I believe Oklahoma would surprise me second, and then I guess Miami.
Right. To me, there's three teams that have a greater than 90% chance to win. It's Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. I give Alabama almost the complete rest of it, and everyone else is basically drawing dead. I guess Oregon does deserve some shot of it, but I don't see them. Like, if they play Indiana, that first game was so lopsided in Indiana's favor. I just don't see them beating them. Like, I think it's similar to that Oregon-Utah thing a few years ago where everybody was picking Oregon to win the rematch, and they just lose the same way as the first time.
But we do see a lot of rematches where, as long as the teams are like talented on the same level, that I don't think that there can be a conclusion drawn about the rematch.
I understand that. I'm just, my perception of Indiana football is that they're just so much better than Oregon based off what I saw the first game and against common opponents and all that, that I just don't really see them beating them in a rematch. I think Alabama would have to upset Indiana for Oregon to even have a chance to make the semifinals. I think if it was Georgia as the one seed or Ohio State, nobody would give Oregon a realistic chance. I think it's just because their name's Indiana is why people suspect Oregon's pull off the upset. Because that was, to me, that Indiana-Oregon game is probably the most impressive win of the season, or second, outside of Alabama going to Georgia and winning. Because Indiana just completely shut Oregon down in the fourth quarter, particularly.
Yep. All right, DeReal, appreciate you being here. Yeah,
no problem, Mark. I'll call you back when Alabama defeats Oklahoma in an ugly football game.
Okay. All right. We have been on way too long, but Michael's been waiting for a long, long time. So, of course, we're going to hear from Michael, but that will be our last call of the night. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Cold yourself, but I'm hanging in there.
Oh, you're cold?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like 70 today, so I'm not cold.
Oh, sure. Rub it in. It's like
it was beautiful.
Hey,
blue skies, sunny, 70, perfect day to get outside.
I'll send you some of the snow if you send me some of the nice weather. Anyway, I'm getting, as you can tell in the chat, I'm chatting with some people all in good taste and stuff like that. But let me ask you this. Do you think Bama's like Ohio State got better players than Indiana?
Do I think Ohio State has better players than Indiana?
No, Alabama. Do you think both of them have better players than Indiana?
Well, Ohio State does. Does Alabama? Alabama certainly has players that were recruited higher, and that usually, for as much as people want to argue that, when you take a large collection of players, that's meaningful and been proven out. But that a lot of that has to do with what we're seeing with Indiana playing better than Alabama. Has to do with Kurt Cignetti's doing a phenomenal job. And Kalen DeBoer is a really good head coach. Obviously, he's got something going here, Kurt Cignetti, and the coaches and the development, the schemes, all of it is working extremely well. And they got a quarterback who's super hot and confident, and he's more mobile than Ty Simpson is for sure.
All right.
No, it's a great question. I totally get your point. Indiana to date is a better football team than Alabama, and it's really not debatable until they would get on the same field together, which they will, right? If Alabama wins this game against Oklahoma.
Yes.
Okay.
But as the saying goes, it's hard to beat a team 3 times normally it's 3 times to beat a team. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, but it's what, 2 seasons?
You're talking about the NFL.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Oklahoma had a chance to beat.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, that's a saying that nobody has proven. I keep hearing that, but nobody's. This is what I saw. So listen to these 2 stats. I looked at the Big 12 championship history. Okay.
Yeah.
The history of the Big 12 championship. This year we had our 13th rematch. And Texas Tech obviously swept BYU.
Mm-hmm.
That has happened 7 times. And the loser of the first game has won 6 times. So that tells us absolutely nothing. That it's completely random. This whole, that in that case, over the 30-year history of the game, 13 times, and that's told us nothing. Now, in the SEC championship game, Georgia came back and beat Bama. Obviously, they lost the regular season game. That's happened 9 times where there's been a rematch in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And one team has swept the 2 games 6 times, and the loser of the first game has won the rematch 3 times. So that actually tells us, if you want to believe that it's easier to win both games. Now, that's a small sample size, but I'm just saying nobody has ever proven or done any research that I've seen. And somebody, please, in the chat, if you know of an article or a video that somebody's done that has analyzed rematches in college football, because I keep hearing this, that it's tough to beat a team twice. Oh, really? Let's see the data on it. It's a theory that it's just like, I've got a friend who's often said about NFL games, it's tough to win a division game. According to who? When's that ever been proven?
Yeah. And a couple of things and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying they're not better and stuff like that. Because if that was the case, then how come Ohio State? And G, Bama boy, nothing personal to you. I love you, but I just got to disagree with about Bama. Question number 2. How surprised was you about Malik Lemon winning the Biletnikoff?
Malachi Lemon?
Or Malachi, sorry.
I was not surprised at all.
Because
first of all, you are alerting me of him winning the Biletnikoff because I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Oh,
I do historically, like I look back and see, but as they're being announced, I'm not looking for that. I knew that he was definitely in the running. Mm-hmm. So are you thinking that Jeremiah Smith was going to win it?
No, I'm just going to say, I was just asking because so many people in the chat were saying Smith should have won it. But I just looked up their numbers. Lemon's numbers was better. But I don't know what that consists of. So
yeah, I bet he didn't sit out a couple games.
Yeah, sure.
So Jeremiah Smith sat out a couple games. I would say that now, over the course of a season, there are opportunities to make great plays. Like, let's say, for whatever reason, a certain wide receiver has the ball thrown to him perfectly all the time, so he doesn't have to make ridiculous one-handed catches or anything like that. Jeremiah Smith made some plays like that, and he's certainly capable of making that. But even though I'm guessing I saw Ohio State play more than USC, I do watch a lot of USC football, and Malachi Lemon made more spectacular plays, I believe, than Jeremiah Smith did, off the top of my head. And you're telling me his numbers are better. I doubt if they're significantly better, but
They're
yeah,
not much
Jeremiah Smith
better. I
did
think
sit
they're
on the
like 100
sidelines for 2
yards.
games.
And speaking of wide receivers, do you think Ryan Williams went through a sophomore slump this year?
Oh, absolutely, he did. I tend to think that he's having some personal issues.
Yeah.
Like
Not
there were
bad.
times that he was held out of games this year. Nobody knew what was wrong with him.
Mm-hmm. Not bad. So no, my God. So like it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Michigan because I got a feeling Warren Manuel's getting ready to be looking for a new job here soon. But we'll
Who's going
see
to be
what
looking for?
happens.
Oh, Ward Manuel. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and if they do hire a new coach, some tells me he's gonna be Kenny Willingham from Arizona State.
So don't hold me to this, but yeah, that was certainly so in watching our Michigan show on the Michigan channel last night, those guys were touting, they were really looking at Kalen DeBoer and Kenny Dillingham. And then I saw reports today that I know that Arizona State is frantically
trying to give him an extension.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, not bad. All right, sir. Time to go brave the elements again. It's bone chilling cold outside. Enjoy your nice weather down in Florida.
Thank you.
Don't be so mean and send us some up here. But ironically, Indiana weather, it's going to be cold tonight through Monday, but by the end of the week, it's going to be back in the 50s again. And it's like, did it really snow?
That sounds cold.
Well, 50s compared to -2.
No, I know. I'm with you. Believe me.
All right.
I lived up north my entire life. So yeah, 50s in December is tremendous. Yeah.
Sure. So back out on Monday night with Madigan, or is it just you and Madigan, or is it going to be you and Chris again from SG1?
I really have no idea. I'll be here.
Yeah, I was wondering. Maybe you can talk to you about some non-Division One football, maybe some FCS stuff, but we'll see. All right, sir. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay cold.
Michael. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will not be talking any FCS football. I have nothing against FCS football, but I don't follow it. I will not watch any of it. I don't have time for it. But so if any of you want to call in and talk about it, you're welcome to talk about it, but I'm not going to partake in a conversation about FCS football unless a particular player is in the transfer portal to be plucked up, a la Mark Gronowski. What was I just looking at? There was something in particular I wanted to. By the way, David, if you're still listening, the Maryland-Miami game, the Frank Wright game, was played a week before Boston College and Flutie against Miami in '84. All right. We have certainly run out of time, but we want to honor Adam's super chat contribution. Thank you so much for that, Adam. It is very much appreciated. Mark, the love that Sharon and Paige. Is her name Paige, or was this given to her as a name? Why would her name be in quotes? And Paige found transcends football or a job. Yet they get criticized. If Bama beats Oklahoma, do you think they beat Indiana? I don't think so, but I will make a prediction when the game, if that game is played. I think that Alabama and both Oklahoma are capable of beating Indiana. Finally, I want to get my 84-year-old mom a great Christmas present. Any suggestions? Well, this is what you need to do. Your 84-year-old grandmother, bless her heart, you get her some apparel at the Voice of College Football shop. Bam. You go with the standard ball cap. Got a couple to choose from there. We've got the tees, the polos, the fleece. We've got that's what we've got. Or if she's a don't know. I don't believe so sorry, we don't have Rutgers covered, but USC. She's a USC fan. Again, the caps, the tees, the polos, the pullovers, the whole deal, plus the tumblers, the mugs, and the koozies. So this is where you folks should be shopping for Christmas right there. Absolutely. So it's vocfb.com. Yes, we've got mugs. Simply Sims, we've got mugs. Yes, see the mug there? Absolutely. Oh, you're talking about for the main channel. That's a great question. I didn't see any mugs. You're right. So hats. Wonder why I want it. Yeah, we got a mug right there. There we go. We've got mugs, and we got the cooler there, and the tumbler. Bam. So yes. So there you go. Adam likes the USC stuff. Sherry. Oh, Cheryl. Thank you. Mark, the salesman of the Voice of College Football. I am a freaking horrible salesperson. That is why we are in the mess that we are. I'm a terrible salesperson. It's not my calling. It's not my job, and I do a bad job. And I should have put more time and effort into being a salesperson. That is actually the most important component that we need here, and should have worked on that a long time ago. I was too busy producing content and doing stupid live streams for 5 hours, where I should have been focused on being a salesperson. Yeah, that I am the worst salesperson in America, for sure. All right, folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you on Monday night. The ladies of college football, Doreen and Minnie, will be here, of course, on Sunday night. We will see you then.